It was mid-2021, I was 13 years old, and I had been living mainly on Earth for 5 years now. I say mainly, because my mother and I did go on vacations, off-planet several times a year. Mostly to Viera the Andromedan space station, and to planet Sindriel, Aldebaran. The pandemic was at its highest point where I lived, so my mother no longer was giving any health, fitness, nor self-defense classes. And I was no longer attending school either. By then, I had been taking classic ballet dance classes for over 2 years. I loved it very much, and I was even seriously considering becoming a professional classic dancer. I had been training vigorously for that, as well as gymnastics, as I'm very elastic. They go hand in hand. But that situation, the one you all know about, made me retract into isolation. Not so much because of mandates, but because I couldn't stand to see how people were falling for such an obviously false situation, and for that very reason I just couldn't obey mandates. Having to do so was poisoning my soul. So I had heavy personal problems, even with simple things like fetching something at a store. I had a serious rejection problem going on, understandably so, I guess. So my mother and I decided to leave Earth, at least for some time, until that situation moved away, if it was to move away, and we decided to live inside the Andromeda Viera space station, using my mom's starship, Susie TPE-157M, as our house, as it is large enough inside. My mom, besides being a personal trainer, that being her human job, had always been a fighter pilot at the service of Taygetan society. That's why she had that Susie-class fighter starship. Mid-2021, a certain problem arose in space, with an individual that was acting rogue and antagonist to Taygetan society. I cannot go into much detail, because I was specifically asked not to. All I can say is that was part of an elaborate plot to take control over Taygetan society, involving Earth's regressive cabal. That person was being chased by Taygetan ships at that time, and it was reported that individual could be around our sector, so my mother was on alert. But as no one can be on alert all the time, one day my mother went well inside the Andromedan Viera biosphere ship, the big wedge-shaped ship, hiding behind the moon. She had been out for hours inside nature and I was alone in our ship, when Susie's AI started to sound a proximity detection alert, indicating that the person the Taygetans were looking for was in the area. My mom didn't take her communication device with her. I didn't know what to do because I noticed that rogue ship following a passing by flight configuration, meaning that it would soon fly away, who knows where, and be lost again. So I took a decision I would later regret a lot. I instructed Susie to lift off from the Viera's hangar we were in, and to follow that starship in hot pursuit. Of course, I didn't know all about stellar navigation, but at the time I thought I knew enough. But I didn't know that the person I was attempting to follow was a seasoned fighter pilot and a veteran instructor for Taygetan fighter pilots. So when she, because it was a woman, noticed that I was following her, she started to perform a combat maneuver known as space skipping, that is, to jump from location to location many times in a random way, to try to lose me. As I mentioned before, a starship leaves a disturbance in the field around where it jumped, and that disturbance lasts for a few seconds, or even minutes, enough for another starship to read that disturbance's frequency, and with it, the computer can know where that other starship went. Frequency of destination detection. The problem is that fighter pilot I was attempting to follow was very experienced, so she started not only to space skip, but she also was temporal skipping, and that is when a fighter pilot not only jumps from random location to random location, but also jumps to another moment in time of each of those locations the ship is jumping in and out from. So there is another level here, not only considering where a ship was, but also when it was there. Jumping in and out of those random locations, with the obvious intention to lose the ship following her, mine, it would result in me getting severely lost in time and space. I was facing a highly experienced fighter pilot doing her best to lose what she considered to be a big threat to her, as her ship, also a Taygetan Suzy class, marked with the number TPT-156, detected my ship to be a Suzy 2, or Super Suzy, latest and improved model, therefore, classified as of maximum danger for her. She didn't know the pilot was a simple, 13-year-old, schoolgirl, ballet dancer, not an experienced fighter pilot. So, yes, I got lost in time and space. After only a few minutes, I was so lost, and I couldn't go back to where I had come from. I had failed to record the frequency and sequence of each of my jumps, and I had repetitively overwritten the frequency of my initial location, all because I was too enthusiastic, because I thought my mom would be so proud of me for catching that rogue pilot the Taygetans were searching for. I basically didn't even know what I was instructing the ship's flight computer. And up to now, I haven't been able to go back to where I came from, yet.